Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. And yeah, if you can't tell, I'm still under the weather. My voice is literally sounding so bad right now. Yeah, it literally sounds like a frog is just sitting in the back of my throat at the moment. But anyways, if you didn't catch last episode of this series, basically we had our first draft and we also had the re-sign stage. We pretty much let go of a lot of UFAs, and we have still, I'd say, a pretty solid roster, obviously, and we're hoping that we could still be competitive for at least one more season before we go the rebuilding route, because obviously at the moment the main thing that I think is going to be as of concern is Nick Ehlers is going into the last year of his contract. So if we're not competitive by the deadline this season, there is a chance maybe we decide to start going the rebuilding route a little bit early, because obviously losing Nick Ehlers would be pretty detrimental to this top six. But we do still have like Kyle Connor for like one more year, so I don't really know if I want to go into rebuild if we end up doing really bad at the halfway point of the season or not. I still think this team should be a playoff team for a little bit longer, but obviously if we lose Ehlers this offseason, then we are stuck with just Connor and Scheifele left, and Connor could be leaving in the next few years as well. So we definitely have some decisions to make at the halfway point of the season once we get there. But still, like, I think we still have a good foundation of players. We just need to continue to add some good pieces here in the offseason, and then hopefully we could have a pretty solid season ahead. But anyways, so let's get into some comments before we actually get into our free agent signings. So let's get to the first one, which is from Hockey Guy 88. He says, I think you should try and bring in Klingberg on defense. He would be a huge upgrade for your defense. And I think he would be an upgrade definitely for our defense in a sense, but at the same time, in real life, I know he's a bit of a defensive liability, but he's pretty much would be like the type of thing that I feel like Neil Pionk was, but a right-handed version of Neil Pionk. So it's like, I don't really know if he's worth bringing in a sense, but he might be. We have 11.7 million in cap space. He's wanting 6.5, so there is a chance I will bring him in for the offense, but I feel like he's going to be very similar to what Neil Pionk was. But maybe I'm just kind of basing it off real life, because obviously it says in this game in Toronto he had a really good season last year defensively, but then again Toronto's a very solid team in this franchise mode already. So yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing in John Klingberg just to help out the offense a little bit from the back end. Maybe not on a 3-year deal, maybe more of a trial run, maybe like a 1-year contract just to see how good he does. But yeah, he might be our defensive addition, because we do have a lot of left-handers and we could always use more right-handers. And in terms of like other right-handed defenders out there, most of the other guys are pretty old. You got like Barry and Tanev who are in their 30s. You got Johnson who's in his 30s. I'm not even including Tony DeAngelo because this guy can kick rocks. But yeah, TJ Brody's also there. He's older. Dante Fabro is still kind of one of the more intriguing ones to me. We do need maybe multiple defensemen this offseason. So if I can, I might try and go for both Klingberg and also Fabro. It would eat up all of our cap space we have left is the only thing, so I don't know if that would make much sense. But Dante Fabro is still kind of really intriguing to me just because he's younger. But then again, he was very terrible defensively in Nashville, so it's like, do we really want to bring him in or not? So yeah, maybe Klingberg is still the better option in that sense, but we definitely will look for a couple defenders to try and make our team a little bit better defensively. And then hopefully we could actually add a couple forwards. Like, I don't know if we need too much forwards, but I feel like it would be nice for us to add at least a forward in the offseason to kind of help our offense a bit, because at the moment we have like 3 really good players. We have a solid kind of like second/third line, and then it kind of drops off right at this point. So I feel like we might need maybe one more forward, because like, yeah, we could always try and get rid of the Nemesnikov and upgrade him at the same time, but I don't know. I think we definitely could use a little bit more upgrades, but I think we'll pretty much almost like run it back for another season in a sense, but at the same time having a little bit of a different team than the past few years, or the past first year. Next comment is from Sandro Nataku, who says, if Nilstorp could develop into a 78 to 79 overall while adding this to his defensive awareness, he should become a useful fourth-line center / penalty killing specialist. Otherwise, I wouldn't rush to rebuild / retool right now unless you have an abysmal season this time. Maybe bring in another defenseman for the top 4 while Galvis develops. So, yeah, if Nilstorp, who we drafted, could develop, that would be really great. He was a low top 6, so not great potential-wise, but he is a 65 at 18. So yeah, if this guy develops into being a good defensive forward, that wouldn't be a bad option for our team at some stage. And then also Galvis, hopefully he develops into being a solid player. I know he is a real player. I looked him up after I recorded last episode, and he actually is like related to Jacob Galvis, who I believe was a Chicago defensive prospect. So yeah, he's going to be our main defensive prospect right now. And yeah, hopefully he develops into being a solid top 4 or top 6 defenseman for us down the road, because we don't really have a whole lot of defensive prospects other than Heinola, who's already in our lineup. And then he said that maybe bringing in top 4 defensemen. So yeah, we'll probably look at Klingberg like a hockey guy was mentioning. Next comment is from Flame Husky, who says, Cairo and Stank are solid prospects. In my own GMOs, they've always become good players. As for the whole rebuild question, I'm saying no for at least 3 to 4 years. This team is too good to blow up. So he's saying no rebuilds for 3 to 4 years. So yeah, I don't know if we'll rebuild right away. Like, we might lose Nick Ehlers this offseason, which, like I said, is going to be a bit of a problem. But we probably won't go into a rebuild state fully until, I'd say, Kyle Connor's in the last year of his contract. Because then if we aren't being good and we're still not making noise in the playoffs, then we might look at actually trading Kyle Connor at the deadline in a blockbuster deal to hopefully get ourselves some decent players in for the future. And then we could always like trade away guys like Scheifele and all that as well. Like, I don't really want to hold on to Scheifele long term, but it really doesn't make sense to trade him in the first year of his new extension. So that's why I'm going to do it that way. And then the last and final comment is from Ep.7, who says, I would definitely say trade away a Scheifele, especially because you have so many good centers, but really Jets screwed you on that extension, so not this year. Definitely between Ehlers and Connor, but considering the contract lengths, I think that's a clear answer. So, yeah, eventually we'll probably look at trading away like one of those guys, but right now I don't think I'm going to do it. But if we aren't that good at like the deadline, like I'm saying, I think then we might want to move on from Ehlers just because of the fact we know that we aren't going to be a playoff team maybe at that stage. So there is a chance Nick Ehlers could be leaving at the deadline, but it depends on the team's positioning at that point. And then like Kyle Connor's another type of guy that could leave very soon. Scheifele, maybe a few more years just because of the fact he just signed an extension. And same goes for like guys like Connor Hellebuck and that type of thing. But definitely want to try and contend while we have this roster on paper, because if we kind of just tear it down right now, it doesn't really make much sense. So anyways, that is that. Let's get into our free agent signing, which I guess is going to be John Klingberg. I don't know. Do we need a forward? I need to make sure we have like a good amount of roster players. So in terms of forwards, at the moment we got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we could maybe use another third liner, because Appleton's a depth guy. Barron's more of a fourth line. Nemesnikov's not great. I would like to get Kupari in the lineup a bit more frequently, so I think I might try and get rid of Nemesnikov this offseason, bring in a better third liner, and then we could probably use Kupari in our actual lineup. And then like Fialbi, Tony Nato, I'm okay with using him as NHL depth kind of. So I think we'll try and trade Nemesnikov in and try and find ourselves a forward for the third line, like right wing spot. So let's try and bring some decent players in. So let's start with Klingberg, because obviously that's what we kind of want the most, is a defenseman. No other team is interested, which is interesting. If we go 1 year deal, looks like we might have to pay him like, let's give him 6.9 for the memes. That does eat up like more than half of our cap space remaining, so it's a bit of an expensive contract, but hopefully he accepts that, because we're the only team interested right now. So there's John Klingberg. And then, as I was mentioning, we might need one forward if we get rid of Nemesnikov. So let's see if we could offload Vlad Nemesnikov. We should be able to. There's probably going to be a team that wants him. It's more just because I want to get Kupari in the lineup, because Kupari was bouncing around between scratch and not, and I don't want him to be scratched this year. Nemesnikov's probably not going to have a lot of value, which is unfortunate, but that is the way it crumbles. Let's see. Yeah, there's teams interested. 7th round picks. Yeah, see, we don't really get that much for him. Like, at this point, it's almost more worth holding on to him, but he is making $2 million, so this will free up a little bit more cap space for this offseason. So it looks like some teams are willing to give up 6th rounders, other teams are willing to give up 7th rounders, or we could get Tucker Pullman, which I don't really want. Don't need a depth defenseman. The question is, who's going to be the worst of these teams? Trying to think of who would be the worst of the bunch. I wish there was, because I was watching Tugi stream the other day, NHL 15 on Xbox One. I didn't realize there was a trade comparison tool when you're doing trades. I wish that NHL 24 had that. Like, I have no idea why EA got rid of that feature, but it would be nice to have that type of thing. Because, like, imagine if I was able to compare Nemesnikov to this, like, 7th round pick and see, oh, Colorado was a good team last year. This 7th round pick might not be that good. So, because you could do that, I think, in NHL 15 it was. I guess the teams that want to give up a 6th rounder are teams that were better last year, my guess. But I could be wrong. I feel like the Islanders 6th rounder might be okay. I don't know if I want to trade them to a Western Conference team, so an Eastern Conference team is probably the best bet. Yeah, I feel like the 6th rounder is probably the ones that are teams that were better last year. Let's trade him to... Let's trade him to Carolina. Why not? Give him a chance to go win a Stanley Cup if we aren't able to win. So, Vlad Nemesnikov for a 6th round pick. It is done. And that way Kupari can get in the lineup, and we free up $2 million in cap space to get ourselves a free agent right winger for the 3rd line. I think that's a decent thing because we basically just upgrade our forward core because of this. So let's see if there's anybody interesting to take Appleton's spot on the 3rd line, and Appleton could be more of a 4th liner. Hey, look, we could bring in Nick Petan, Jets legend. I don't know why he wants $2.75 million. Why was he playing in the NHL? He only had 24 points in 64 games, but this guy's trying to get almost $3 million as a fringe NHLer. Jumped up to an 81 somehow, which is also weird. There is Chinnikov, which is interesting, because remember we were talking about how Columbus let go of Chinnikov. He's 23 years old and a right winger. Well, this is a depth forward, really good in the AHL. You know, Chinnikov might be interesting. Who's the other team interested in him? The New York Islanders. I think I'm going to throw in my hat for Chinnikov as a 3rd liner. I know he's not a huge upgrade, but it would be nice to get ourselves a good young player in on that spot. So, let's give Chinnikov 1.4, and maybe he'll be our right wing option. There's a lot of other right wingers out there, so we definitely could throw our hats in for other guys if for some reason we don't end up getting him. But I mean, basically, it's like we're almost trading the Nemesnikov for Chinnikov in a sense. So let's advance a few days and see if we get John Klingberg in. Obviously, that's the most important one for our team, which hopefully he will accept. Barabanov and Iafallo to the Ducks for a 2nd and a 3rd. No, thank you. Not trying to go into rebuild territory just yet. Chinnikov has accepted, so Chinnikov has joined our 3rd line, which is nice. Nice young player. And John Klingberg wants to go to Arizona instead, so that's actually majorly unfortunate. So we do not get John Klingberg because he decided to go to the Coyotes. So that's a bit of a slap in the face when a player wants to go to the Coyotes instead. I do like the Coyotes, but man, that sucks. At least there's still other right defenders out there, but they're all older guys, which is not nice. I guess Cal Foot, but he's not really a top 4. That's the only thing. I might have to go for an older guy, which is not ideal. Because, yeah, Cal Foot being 25 is decent, but he's not an actual top 4 defenseman. You have Chris Tanev, who's probably going to be on the drop-off, though. Same with Brody and Johnson. Like, I don't really want to bring back Dylan DeMello necessarily. I don't really want to bring in a left defenseman either. Yeah. Oliver Shillington's decent, but he's not a right-handed D. Some of these guys can't play LD/right D, though. Like Zadorov. But isn't it Nikita Zadorov really what I'm after? I don't think so. Like, from an offensive standpoint, he doesn't do much. He's just like a hitting defender. Ian Cole's an old man at this point as well. Goligoski definitely is. Hayden Fleury's not really even an NHL defender, so I guess we have to go for an older guy. We could go for Chris Tanev, who we were looking at potentially trading for at one point. Even though he will be on the decline, I think it's probably our best option. So we'll bring in Chris Tanev. Sucks that we didn't get John Klingberg. But yeah, let's bring in Chris Tanev for the 1 year. And we'll still have cap space to potentially upgrade ourselves if we are in a playoffs position to upgrade ourselves at the start of next season. But that really sucks. Oh, was I going to look at changing my scouts over? I forget this offseason. Because if I am not going to have as good of scouts to sign now. That have advanced a few days. Tanev is accepted, so at least we got ourselves one right-handed defenseman. But what I was going to check is the scouting pool. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we need to assign scouts to all these different regions and stuff like that. I might honestly have to do a cut in this video just to reassign them all to their actual regions and stuff like that. Is there any good scouts out there to hire, though? Not really. They're all C's related right now. How much scouts do we got? 17 out of 20. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to probably do a jump cut in this episode, basically reassigning all these at the start of the season. So let's get to the start of the season. I don't think really there's anything else I could do to upgrade this team more so. There probably is, but I don't know what. Let me double check on this. So we got the 3, we got the 6, we got the 9, and then we got the 12. If y'all be his depth, that's okay. We could maybe use one more depth forward. And then defensively got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's fine. Yeah, I think we maybe just need one more depth forward. So we'll sign another depth forward for our team. And then, yeah, we'll sim up to the start of next season. And then we'll probably end up looking at re-signing our scouts. Like I said, I'll probably end up doing a cut in the episode or something like that. So you guys don't have to sit through like me just doing that because it adds a bit too much time. So let's find ourselves a depth forward, preferably somebody that could win face-offs. That's usually what I always go for. So if there's somebody that could win face-offs, that'd be great. So Tyler Landria is an RFA. Damn, I thought he was going to be a UFA. I didn't realize David Gustafson's actually still an RFA. So we do still have some holdouts. So we actually don't need another player, I don't think. Because David Gustafson would be our fourth line option / depth option, right? Yeah, he's the only one holding out right now. So yeah, we won't actually bring anybody in because Gustafson's actually exactly what guy I kind of wanted to sign anyways. So we don't need to sign anything, which is nice. Okay, let's sim to the start of next season, see if we get any interesting trade offers this offseason. A lot of them are rebuild oriented, so I'm just going to decline. Maybe I should decline and edit the trading block a little bit. Yeah, we're going to remove all these guys from our trading block. And let's just adjust this a little bit so maybe we could get some interesting offers throughout the deadline, or not the deadline, the off season. 28 to, let's do 28 to 34, I guess. Actually, let's go 20 to 28. I don't want anybody super old, to be honest. Not that that's super old anyways, but I just want to see if there's any good offers that we get this offseason, because if we could get a good trade offer, maybe that would be something that could help us change the complexion of this team as well. So we'll do 20 to 28 again. See if we could get a decent chunk of an offer. I think we should be able to get good offers. But at the same time, I'm not looking to move any super old guys on this team. We're just going to basically put one for each position. Even though we don't need a goalie, might as well. So that way we could get offers for pretty much anything. That should be good. And then we also want, let's say, current picks. We will be fine with giving up. Wait, is this the surplus? Yeah, this is the surplus to give up or acquire. We could acquire some seconds, some thirds. I don't really want fourth plus. Actually, maybe I should keep that open in case. And first rounders, let's put those on there as well, just in case. See if we get anything thrown to us that we're like, wow, that's a crazy offer. And yeah, let's continue simulating up to there. So I'm not trying to trade any of these roster players. I don't know why I'm getting roster player offers, because I'm not trying to trade anybody on our team. Unless I changed my surplus to being anybody older than a specific age, which maybe I accidentally did that. Velarde in a second for Gosses Bear in a third, no thanks. But decent offer, but we're not trying to get rid of Velarde just yet. Literally the guys I got from the Dallas Stars in that one trade for Neil Pionk. Basically for a second rounder in Jake Bean. I don't really need Jake Bean, but that's kind of a funny offer. It would be the rights to Jake Bean because he's an RFA at the moment. Chinnikov straight up for a second round pick. That's actually kind of hilarious considering I just signed Chinnikov. I could literally just get a free second round pick just like that for him. Okay, this is kind of be kind of annoying, this trading block. So let me just... Oh, that's surplus. That's what I want to give up. Not what I want. Let's just remove everything here. Remove everything, because I do not want to make any trades right now. And I don't want to get interrupted every 5 seconds. Gustafson's accepted, so that's good. He is back. TJ Brody actually signed in Calgary, I guess, again, which is kind of funny. But him and a 4th rounder for a 2nd and a 3rd. That's not a bad deal, but once again, we don't really need more defensemen since we already brought in Kristanev. But I could have signed Brody free agent-wise if I wanted to, so it doesn't really make sense for me to trade for a guy I literally could have just signed not that long ago. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this team's looking like going into the season. So let's go ahead and edit our lines, I guess. So our top line, Connor, Scheifele, Barabanov. Chinnikov jumped to an 82. See, that's why I don't get why Columbus let him go. Velarde wasn't really super good in that spot, but he will be there this season. Yeah, this actually looks decent. Oh, wow, Perfetti's all the way down there. I didn't even realize he was all the way down there. Velarde could be there. Lowry as a 4th liner is not really ideal. Yeah, that's not an ideal spot for him to be in. Let's do something maybe more around this lines a bit. Velarde's not as good at faceoffs as Lowry, so let's do something like that. So Connor, Scheifele, Barabanov, Chinnikov, Perfetti, Ehlers, and then Iafallo, Lowry, Velarde. Very solid 3rd line, I think. And a 4th line of Appleton, Gustafsson, and Barron. Defensively, Morrissey and Tanev don't work together, so we'll do Morrissey and Roy, Heinola and Tanev, and then Stanley and Sandberg, I guess works. And yeah, Capobianco could be depth. Kupari is still depth, which is not great. That's not really what I wanted for him, but it might have to happen for another season. And then we'll have to call up one more depth forward from the AHL, so let's do that. That's going to be Fialbi, who's in 81 randomly. I don't know why, but we will call him up as the other depth option. So that way we have injury. If we have injury problems, we have other guys. Chaz Lucius is almost NHL ready, which is kind of surprising. I didn't expect him to jump up to being almost NHL ready within a year, but here we are. So there is that. Yeah, so that's going to be our NHL team. AHL-wise, let me just see if anybody's scratched. Nobody is. That's good. Stankoven will probably spend another year at least in the minors. We want him to develop decently. Lucius being up to 78, like I said, is kind of surprising, so was not expecting that in the slightest. Brad Lambert should be playing his natural position. Let's get our younger guys higher up in the lineup. Hauser, Wagner, Torgerson. Vesalainen maybe should be taken off that top line and be more used as a 4th line option because I don't think he's going to pan out more. Cairo, Lundmark. This AHL team's looking really good. Might be a Calder Cup winning team. Oskari Salminen went to a 79. What the heck? Okay, I'm not expecting some of these guys to grow, but they are growing, which is interesting. So our AHL team looks good. Our NHL team looks pretty good too on paper. But now we need to make ourselves that jump cut so I can reassign all the scouts. So I will see you guys in a second. Okay guys, so I reassigned everybody to their regions. So we have now multiple scouts in each of the Canadian regions and the American regions. And then in terms of Europe, we have one in each area. I could double up technically and hire some more scouts. One for Russia, because Russia's always a big place to scout. And then maybe another one for like the SHL and Liga. So I think I'm going to do that. Hire 3 more scouts and then assign those guys as well. So that way we basically have multiple scouts in all the big regions, which would be good. So let's just hire anybody here and we will assign those guys after they accept. So Spike Roach, what a name. Should be able to remember that name. Russell Glencross and Quincy Petrovicki. Okay. So those 3 people will get assigned to those other regions again. So that way we have multiple scouts. And like I said, in the bigger regions, that way we could do a better job at finding those top prospects. So Glencross accepts. Spike is accepted, which is cool. And Quincy is accepted as well. So let's go back to assign scout. I'll show you guys this part at least, but since it's just extra stuff. So let me find them by name. So Petrovicki was one of them. Petrovicki's going to go over to Russia, so we have 2 scouts in Russia. Russia is always a very important place to have multiple scouts, at least in my opinion. And then we also have, there was Spike, and then there was also Glencross. Yeah, that's right. So Spike is going to get assigned to the SHL again, so that way we have multiple scouts in the SHL. And then we just need, actually wait, that's all Svenskin right now. There you go, multiple in the SHL. And then Liga as well, because Finland's also an important place to have multiple in. And hopefully we get a good read on this year's draft class or future draft classes now that we have multiple scouts. Perfect. There we go. So we're all set up wise, scouting wise. Our team is set up. I think we're ready to assimilate a tiny bit since this episode is already like 20 something minutes. Not going to assimilate too much, but we are going to assimilate maybe like the first month or two just to see how our team does in that stage. Just to kind of get our feet a little bit wet to kind of see if this team's actually good enough. And obviously next episode we'll probably simulate up to the trade deadline, and then the trade deadline will be the following episode after that. So that way we take the season in kind of like 3 chunks, and hopefully we take it to our speed where we're actually going to be a playoff team again, because that's the hope with this team right now, is that we're going to be a playoff team this year again. But hopefully this time around we don't run into a team like Colorado. Okay, so preseason, how are we going to do in this preseason? It is going to be 3-3-1, so not the best preseason, but preseason doesn't really matter too much. Kyle Connor led the way with 8 goals and 11 points in 7 games, so he might be on through a big year this year. I'm hoping he will be, because we definitely could use that quite much. So let's see how we do in our first month. We'll probably go to December the 1st, I think, in this episode. And then, like I said, next episode, we'll simulate up to a day before the trade deadline. We'll kind of pre-scout some trades. And, yeah, we'll take it from there, so to speak. So let's go to the end of November, or not November, oh my goodness, I can barely talk. To the end of October. I almost said in October, almost in a sense. Like, my brain is just confused for some reason. Maybe it's just cold, I don't know, but let's see how we do in our first month of action. We lose our first 2 games, but then we win 3 straight games. Nice. We lose to Dallas. We win over Colorado. So 4-3 in our first 7 games. Not necessarily the best start, but as long as we start picking it up, I'll be okay with that. Let's see how we do in our first big full month of NHL action. And then obviously, at this point, we'll take a look at how good our team is doing all around wise. But right now, a little bit on the inconsistent part, it seems like. Very inconsistent, but maybe we'll start flying ourselves 2 second round picks. A second and a third for Matt Zuccarello is kind of intriguing, but he's making too much money. He is a lot older too. Like, he's probably on the path that he might retire at the end of the season, so probably don't really want to do that. Colby Barlow for Jamie Alexiak in a 7th round pick. No, thank you. I like Alexiak, but I'm not going to bring him in for Colby Barlow of all people. And Matt Roy has been injured with a mild concussion. Let's just go replace player on that front, but that kind of sucks, because he's one of our better defenders. He is already back. That is good news. That was only short term. I do like our chemistry also on our team, and I'm hoping for a big year from Chinnikov, because that could have been a very solid free agent signing for our team to bring him in at his age. Definitely curious on how he's actually producing when we get to that point. Christian Cairo, a 2nd and a 3rd for and Trevor Moore and Vladislav Gavrikov, and a 3rd round pick. No, thank you. Too much money tied up between those 2 guys, especially Trevor Moore. Don't really need that. Okay, so 13-10 at December the 1st. Not necessarily where I wanted to be, but it is still good enough. We are tied technically for first place in our division, but we have played almost the most games in our division. And of course, Nick Ehlers, being a pending free agent at the end of the year, is playing great, because he was going to want to get paid at the end of the season. So there's a good realistic chance we might end up losing him because of his contract demands this offseason. But right now, I'm not sure on how I'm liking how our team is simulating. We kind of need to be a bit more consistent, and right now it's kind of very inconsistent. Let's see how our team has been doing good so far. So if we go to entire league-wise, we're not in the top 10. It doesn't look like. Yeah, we're not top 10. We're 12th best right now in the entire league. And from an offensive standpoint, we are doing really well, which is good. But from a defensive standpoint, we are one of the worst teams in the league. So Connor Hellbuck must be off to a slow start, which is not great. Our power play percentage wasn't very good either. How about our penalty kill? Probably not good, right? Yeah, we have one of the worst penalty kills, so that's maybe why we're giving up too many goals. Kind of need to find ourselves defensively. We were below 500 on the road, but above 500 on home ice. So, yeah, we definitely need to maybe make some line adjustments here early on to try and get things going a little bit better. But let's take a look at our player stats so far. So, Scheifele's been good through 23 games, 24 points. Perfetti's been great. I'm glad I gave him that extension when I did. Sure, it might be a lot of money for him, but he signed for 8 years. 20 points in 23 games is really solid. Lowry, 14 points, not bad. Velarde, only 12 points. Yeah, Velarde's one of these players that I don't really know. He's playing on the third line right now and getting some power play time, but he has not been ideal. Appleton's putting up around the same amount of points as him, so that's not a good sign. David Gustafsson, 9 points, 23 games. Not bad. Ehlers obviously has been good, 25 points. Kyle Connor's got 24 points. So our top guys are producing well, which is what you want to see. Iafallo, 16 points is really good. He is a pending free agent at the end of this year as well, I think. Morgan Barron, 7 points. Not bad. Chinnikov has 17 points in 23 games. Do we extend Chinnikov long term? Because this guy might be actually a really good player for our top 6. And then Barabanov has 13 points. Okay, not bad. Barabanov only has that 1 goal, though, in 23 games. That's not really ideal. He is a playmaker, though, but still 1 goal in 23 games. He doesn't shoot the puck a ton, but I don't like that. Morrissey's been solid. Heinola's been good, too. Matt Roy's been solid. Like, they're not really picking up much offense from the back end, but Chris Tanev has definitely came in and been a very solid shutdown defender. +9 in 23 games. Goalie-wise, yeah, our goaltending has definitely been a problem here early on. Connor Hellebuyck is not playing like himself, and Laurent Brossoit is either. Hopefully those guys can kind of heat up a little bit, because that's not what we really want from a good 1-2 punch. So right now our top guys are all producing like our top guys. From an offensive standpoint, I'm liking the way the team is simulating, but from a defensive standpoint, it's not ideal. I mean, the plus-minus isn't terrible on the team, but the goaltending numbers are terrible. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it might be still too early to say, hey, this team needs to make some changes. But definitely next episode, if we're simulating like this, we might need to make some changes. Maybe we just make some lineup changes. We might not need to even make trades. Like maybe we just need to swap some players in the lineup a bit. Like move Chinnikov to the top line to pair Barabanov, or instead of Barabanov, because Barabanov's only got that 1 goal. So maybe Chinnikov goes up to play with these top guys instead. And then Velarde, maybe he has to try and find a way to get into the top 6 or something like that, or we flip him away for somebody that's more of a third liner. I don't know. Like, this team could go through some changes, but right now I think our team definitely still looks great on paper. I'm just a little bit concerned by the goaltending numbers. So there is that. Final few things before we end this episode. Let's take a look quickly at what this draft class is looking like briefly, and also the trading block as well, just in case we want to make trades early on. Dennis Palin is the projected #1 pick in this year's draft, a defenseman. A lot of generated guys. Interesting. Roger McQueen. What a name. That guy I think is a real player though, isn't he? I feel like he is, but I could be wrong. There's a Frenchman supposed to go in the first round. Benjamin Lassard, but he doesn't sound like he's from France. Oh my goodness. Okay. Gustavo Graham. What a name. So there is that. Let's take a look at the trading block briefly in case we want to make trades early on in the season, but I feel like it might be a bit too early to say that. We might just need to rework our lines a bit, and maybe eventually our goaltending numbers will start to improve, because, I mean, Hellebuyck is still a world-class goaltender. We just need to find a way to get him to being better than an .885 or whatever his save percentage was. So let's see. Is there anything interesting? Silverberg, Marchment, Kerfoot, Lars Eller, Kevin LeBlanc. Not really sold on any of those guys, but who knows? I mean, Mason Marchment's making less than $1 million. He might not be a bad option, but I don't really know what we would want to get rid of to get him in. He's only played 3 games this year. So, Swayman, some prospects. Alex Tuck is on the block. That's an interesting piece. Wow, okay. That's a very interesting piece. Only 6 points or 20 games. Last year had 59 points. Alex Tuck is a great player. I am surprised that Buffalo wants to get rid of him. Clifton, Gustafson, Edmondson, Olofsson. Damn, all those names sound the exact same. Uyghur, Anderson. Yeah, there's some really solid players. Like, Rasmus Anderson's a good player, and he's not really making too much money. Like, we could upgrade our team, definitely. Dustin Wolf on the block by the Flames. Interesting, too. Wow. Wasn't expecting some of these guys to be on the block, but here we are. there might be a good chance that we could upgrade our team even more so if we really want to flip away. Like, we could do a thing where we do move Velarde out and get somebody better for that forward core, because he's definitely struggled. Or we could kind of just see how this team simulates still a little bit longer and then make some decisions. But there is intriguing pieces out there to actually upgrade our team, which is good. Because when there's nothing on the block, it's kind of frustrating, because obviously you want to try and contend and bring in good players. But like Drew Doughty's on the block, but he's making 10 million bucks, so we'd have to get somebody to retain on that. But Drew Doughty at his age, 3 years left too. Not ideal. And yeah, Colton Parayko's contract is terrible as well, so there is rental options though. Anze Kopitar's got 2 years left at 7 million. Adrian Kempe would be a great player to bring in as well. He's not making a ton of money. 18 points in 21 games. I do like myself some Adrian Kempe, but I don't know what we'd have to give up to get some of these guys. Wow, there is a lot of really good players out there at this stage. Spurgeon and Brodeen as well. Yeah, this might be the best trading block I've seen in a while for all these teams. Legit, a lot of really good solid talent that we could bring in to help out our team. But the question is, what do we need? Do we need defense? Do we need offense? Right now, offense seems to be a good thing. But do we need defense in front of the goaltending to improve the goaltending numbers? Do we just need to wait and see if our goaltending numbers improve on their own? Because they might. Maybe we just need to rework our penalty kill lines a bit too, since that's been struggling. So there definitely is some questions, but is there anything we need to do yet? Or do we need to just wait it out till the deadline and then make decisions? Jonathan Toews in St. Louis, oh man. I think Blackhawks fans would absolutely hate that, but that could be just me. John Tavares on the block again. Yarncroke, Domi. Yeah, there is a ton of players out there. Like, a lot more than I expected, because usually when you check these trading blocks, it's always like a lot of prospects and picks, and you don't really see a lot of actual roster players. But this time around, a ton of roster players that we could potentially bring in. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we will simulate up to a day before the trade deadline. We'll obviously see where we're sitting and make our decision on what we want to go for route-wise, because obviously with Nick Ehlers being a pending free agent, we definitely want to try and make the playoffs and win the Stanley Cup while we have him, because I don't know if he's going to be here next season with how he's producing, because his contract demands probably are going to go through the roof. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.